The weakening of the typhoon human was clearly visible, and before long, it completely vanished, leaving Raya stunned. He couldn't believe that his companions had actually defeated that typhoon. While Daiki watched it anxiously, he suddenly remembered the time when Zuma gave him a place to stay while he searched for a way to return to normal. Zuma had told him not to worry about it anymore, and that he would be the one to set everything right. After recalling that, Daiki immediately asked Raya where Zuma was and where he had gone. Raya, gripping the seats tightly so he wouldn't get blown away by the wind, responded that he didn't know and could only hope Zuma makes it back somehow. Then suddenly, Daiki ordered Raya to take him to the cockpit, which confused Raya and made him ask why he was thinking of that now. Daiki shouted that they needed to help Zuma, to which Raya retorted that it was crazy talk and questioned what the two of them could even do about it. He even pointed out that Daiki couldn't even walk properly. Daiki closed his eyes upon hearing that and remembered a time when his dad brought him into a cockpit to show him around. After that, he told Raya that he knew how to fly a plane, shocking him. Raya had trouble believing what he said, so he yelled that there's no way he knows how to do that and pointed out that it was completely different from playing a video game at an arcade. In response, Daiki explained that his dad was a pilot and would always let him use computer flight simulators. Then suddenly, he apologized to Raya, saying he had been fooling him all this time, which caught Raya's attention. He said that he and everyone else were all such good people, but pointed out that he wasn't like that and wasn't worth protecting. He revealed that he used to bully his classmate, which left Raya visibly stunned. He recalled a memory of how he did that to one of his classmates. In it, he boasted to his classmates that his dad was a pilot, so he'd become one too. His classmates were amazed by him, and one even commented that he was smart and capable of doing anything, so they believed he could really become one. Right after, he suddenly called out to a classmate sitting in the front row and asked about him, calling him Toru. He then belittled Toru, saying he wouldn't amount to anything in life. He pointed out that Toru sucked at school and good for nothing. At best, he said, Toru could probably only become a garbage collector or something. However, contrary to the reaction he was expecting, Toru reasoned that garbage collectors were the ones who kept the town clean, and that it was actually a really good job. After that, Toru even thanked him with a smile, which left Daiki wondering what was going on. After all that, Daiki explained to Raya that he used to look down on Toru, but in truth, Toru was the incredible one. He added that Toru made him realize how worthless he was, which only made him more frustrated. He thought that because of his bullying, he had been thrown into Danmara as punishment. He couldn't even return to the home he used to be so proud of, and that made him realize how much of a fool he was. In fact, he figured that nothing much would change if he just died. It would even be easier on him mentally if he simply gave up. Even so, with tears and determination in his eyes, he said he wants to apologize to Toru. He told Raya that both he and Zuma had taught him something, and that was how to live as a person, the kind of person he wanted to become. Someone kind, strong, and sincere, like him and Zuma, and added that he wanted to be a decent man. And if Raya and Zuma were in trouble, he wanted to be the kind of person who would do everything to help them, leaving a shocked expression on Raya's face. While that was happening, the scene shifted to Seiko in the cockpit, struggling hard as she tried to read the manual for flying the airplane. She kept telling herself that she could endure this, but no matter how hard she tried to hold on and strengthen her body to save her grandchild from danger, she slowly started blacking out due to her illness. Fortunately, Daiki and Raya arrived and immediately called out to her and asked if she was okay, which caught her attention. She was surprised and asked what the two of them were doing there, to which Raya replied that they should let them take over the controls. She expressed her appreciation for Raya calling her Miss, and said she was already on the verge of passing out earlier. Next, Seiko asked if they were implying that they could fly the plane, to which Raya explained that Daiki's dad was a pilot, and apparently Daiki had used flight simulators before, which made Seiko yell in anger, asking why they didn't say that earlier. Raya then helped Daiki into the pilot's seat and gave him a warning to take it easy and stay calm, to which Daiki replied that he understood. While they were beginning to fly the plane, the scene cut back to Momo and her friends as they clung to the floating Tsukinoko of the Kido family. Here, Zuma asked Gigi if they had already defeated the typhoon, to which Gigi replied yes. but he couldn't see the plane anymore. He then asked worriedly how they were going to get back from there. Momo suddenly shouted to wait and asked where the worm they were riding was going. She called out to Naki to get her attention and ordered her to fly higher and head toward Shimane, to which Naki arrogantly asked if she was joking. She pointed out that she was going to take them directly to their hideout to become human sacrifices, something that seemed to trigger Gigi deep inside. He immediately yelled at Evil Eye not to come out, which caught Naki's attention, prompting her to say that he too would become a human sacrifice. A Kido member then shouted to Naki that there was a problem, but Naki screamed at him to shut up and asked if he didn't see that she was talking. However, Naki's eyes quickly shifted toward what her member was pointing at, and it turned out to be a giant flying shark heading toward them, mouth wide open, ready to swallow them whole. Because of the shock, they couldn't move the Tsukinoko, and while they all screamed in fear, they were completely swallowed by the shark. But just before Gigi and Momo were also about to be eaten, Momo ordered them to jump, so they did, successfully dodging the shark's jaws. Unfortunately, they then began to free fall. At the same time, Gigi could no longer hold back Evil Eye from coming out, and Momo was shocked when she noticed it. Evil Eye acted quickly, positioning himself by the side of the shark and screaming furiously that he would kill all the Kido. He kicked the shark in the stomach with extraordinary strength, causing the beast to start vomiting. He shouted again, commanding the Kido to get out of its stomach right then and there. The strength of Evil Eye's kick was so great that he launched the massive flying shark away, but because of that, Zuma and the others lost their grip. Momo was stunned as she witnessed what happened, while Evil Eye started to realize they were now falling. Still, he didn't care and kept focusing on the Kido, saying he wouldn't let them escape, which made Momo scream angrily that this wasn't the time to worry about that. Momo tried to remind Zuma that he could use his umbrellas, but he told her that he had already used up both of them. Despite the danger they were in, Evil Eye was just laughing beside Zuma and actually enjoying the fall. In response, Momo came up with an idea and ordered them to hold on to each other. Evil Eye refused and said he didn't want to, so Momo got mad and yelled for them to just do it. She explained that she would use her power to act as a parachute. When Zuma and Evil Eye held on to each other, she began activating her powers and wrapped them with it. But unfortunately, it didn't work and their fall didn't slow down, which alarmed her. Evil Eye kept pushing Zuma, telling him to let go, which angered Zuma, who then said he could kill him. Momo pointed out that she couldn't form wings while she was holding both of them. Then suddenly, she noticed something ahead of them, and it turned out to be the plane, and she was shocked that it had come back for them. Inside the cockpit, Daiki immediately said he could see something, to which Seiko replied that it was probably Momo and the others. Using her suit while blocking the hole in the plane, Vamola told Seiko that they would see Gigi and the others as long as they kept flying straight. She added that they just needed to maintain their speed, to which Seiko praised her, but also asked how she figured out their location even though she wasn't looking at their path. As for Momo's situation, she shouted for the two of them to leave it to her. She said she'd grab onto the plane when it passed by. She prepared them, but the two continued arguing, as Evil Eye still refused to hold on while Zuma was growing more and more irritated with him. As the plane got closer, Momo, using her powers, managed to grab onto it, all while still holding onto both of them. After a little while, Daiki was able to successfully pilot the airplane, and they arrived at an aircraft landing area. Once they got there, Daiki slowly landed the plane, and soon enough, they were back on the ground. Joy and relief were clearly visible on their faces, and Raya even teared up as he praised Daiki, saying he really managed to fly the plane, and it was awesome. Meanwhile, in the passenger area, Momo's group was gathered. Evil Eye got mad because they weren't flying anymore. Momo nervously admitted that she really thought it was the end for them, while Zuma was in disbelief, touching a shark inside the plane and commenting that he couldn't believe there was a shark. Vamola approached them and informed them that she was getting bitten on the butt earlier by the sharks while she was blocking the hole. She added that their time in empty space was about to run out, which worried Momo, who immediately ordered everyone to get back to their seats. She hurried them to move, and when she pointed out to Evil Eye where he should sit, he stubbornly yelled that he didn't want to. She also got mad at Zuma and told him not to just stand there, which made Zuma angry too, pointing out that he couldn't see. Vimola then helped him get to his seat. Vimola then helped him to his seat. As the timer rapidly ticked down, it caught Vimola's attention, prompting Momo to shout in alarm for everyone to hold on. Evil Eye then made things worse by saying he wanted to see outside, and he's going out, prompting an irritated Momo to tell him to sit down, calling him a blockhead, and warning him not to make her tell Okarun what he's done. A little later, they finally exited empty space, and the surroundings returned to normal. While Evil Eye was clearly bored, Seiko was shocked at what had just happened, and Momo finally breathed a sigh of relief, saying thank goodness nothing happened in the real world. On one side of the airplane, Momo overheard two women talking. One of them said that when the typhoon got close, she feared something might happen. The other replied, thank goodness they arrived at the airport safe and sound. One added that, actually, it looked like the people earlier with knives just suddenly vanished, which made her wonder what really happened. The other commented that it was kind of scary and questioned if it really wasn't just a dream, leaving Momo speechless upon realizing the civilians had noticed. While that was happening, the story shifted to where the Kido family ended up. There, Naki screamed furiously, asking what the hell was going on. She was confused about where they were, saying it felt like they were in the goddamn bonus. Some members of her family were inspecting the giant shark. Others were jumping around, saying they felt as light as feathers. One asked if the air was thin for them too. Naki got completely pissed and started cursing, thinking Momo had set them up. She said Momo's whole plan was to use them however she wanted before sending them off to some faraway place. As the Earth was shown from space, Naki declared that Momo would never get away with what she did and swore to tear her to pieces, saying she better not forget that. As she said this, it was revealed that her family and their Tsukinoko had landed on the surface of the moon. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the Serpos, who seemed to have some connection to the typhoon human. One of them commented, while watching their high-tech hologram screens, that the operation had failed. They said they teleported that typhoon from the Philippines thinking it would take the airplane down, but they didn't expect it to be forced to dissipate. They then checked their data on Momo and remarked that she was an exceptionally dangerous being, and while they prefer not to get close, maybe their odds could improve through hand-to-hand combat. If they didn't do something soon to solve this, Count Saint Germain might get his hands on her. One of them added that it would be necessary for them to send in a large number of troops. After that, the scene cut to Okarun's school, where several police officers and ambulances had gathered. The perverted teacher, Murakami, was already arrested, and Koki was being interviewed. She told them that Murakami had threatened to leak her photos in just her underwear. The officer interviewing her said he understood and told her she could go home now, so long as she agreed to come to the station the next day to give a detailed statement. Afterward, Queen Sensei asked if she was okay and praised her for doing the right thing, but she refused the praise and said she was actually the one to blame for all of this. On the other hand, Ira was on a stretcher being taken into the ambulance, overacting to get Okarun's attention. It worked, and Okarun volunteered to go with her. Rin asked if she should come along too, but Ira replied that if possible, she wanted Okarun to come alone. However, her plan was foiled when Queen Sensei said she'd be the one to accompany Ira and sent Okarun and Rin home, leaving Ira shocked, while Rin quickly complied. Not long after, the ambulance started moving, and Ira, trying to be cute, asked Okarun to promise he'd visit her. Sakata nodded in approval, saying Ira always kept her chin up no matter what, while Okarun and Rin expressed concern for her. After that, Okarun asked their class rep if she was okay, and she said yes, explaining it was thanks to Ira and Koki protecting her. Okarun then remembered Hase and asked how he was doing. As it cut to him panicking inside the ambulance, Sakata commented, "Who even cares about that guy?" He added that more importantly, their case still wasn't solved, getting Okarun and Rin's attention. He said according to the young lady, Murakami, just like Koki, was instructed by someone to collect abilities. Okarun asked if she meant that someone else was trying to steal Momo's powers too, which made Sakata wonder why he brought up Momo. He explained that nowadays, criminal organizations were turning into secret societies. They used to be easy to find, but more recently, they'd gotten so good at blending into society that nobody knew where they were or what they were doing, calling them completely invisible now. He even mentioned a story from overseas about an old man driving a tractor who turned out to be a mafioso. He added that usually, members of that kind of organization didn't even know each other's names or faces, prompting Okarun to ask how they could stay organized with a setup like that. Sakata answered that they did it through outsourcing, meaning they contracted out their crimes. It was more cost-effective and left fewer trails, but he was sure there were other reasons too. Although they were said to be part of an organization, they were acting separately, unaware of where the enemy was or who their allies were. Okarun tried to reason, saying that if that was the case, then there was no way for them to reach the true mastermind behind everything. But Sakata replied that he wasn't so sure about that, and pointed out that they weren't a monolith. Organizations that don't treat individuals as people because of cost-effectiveness or whatever else will inevitably start to break down. In a firm tone, he added that what's important now is their connection with comrades they trust. He suddenly opened his school uniform and revealed a t-shirt with the logo of the History and Culture Research Club, declaring that if the bonds within their club were strong, then they had nothing to fear from any enemy. Okarun smiled and commented that if that's the case, then there was still hope, while Rin cheerfully said that Sakata really knew just what to say. However, instead of showing gratitude, Sakata pointed at their class rep and said she wasn't a very good judge of people, so she needed to be more careful. Rin disagreed, insisting that wasn't true. While those two were talking, the first comrade that came to Okarun's mind was the cute face of Momo, which brought him a sense of calm. But the moment was cut short when Sakata suddenly called out to him and asked if he's the first person to come to Okarun's mind when he mentioned the word comrade, which caught Okarun off guard and made him sheepishly agree. Sakata then said that if anything should happen to him, Okarun shouldn't hesitate to rush to his side so they could combine right away, something Okarun agreed to, albeit reluctantly. Suddenly, Manjiro arrived and rushed toward them, immediately drawing their attention. Sakata wondered who he was and asked if he was a friend or foe. Manjiro explained that he was there because his master told him to protect all of them. Okarun then asked if he was referring to Seiko as his master. He said his master had been attacked by a mysterious group and was now worried that Okarun and the others might be targeted too. He also added that his master had told him to hand over what he was carrying to him, which left Okarun puzzled. In the next scene, Okarun and his friends went to the school's nurse's office after buying snacks like onigiri and yakisoba cups. Okarun asked if they were sure it was okay, wondering if Queen Sensei might get mad at them. While sipping his noodles, Sakata said, "So what if she gets mad?" He was scared because he thought she'd be angry, but if he didn't care whether she got angry or not, then there was nothing to fear. Okarun was left speechless and asked what he was even talking about while also eating his noodles. Manjiro, who was handing out tea, told them it was fine because they had Queen Sensei's permission. On the girls' side, Koki asked Rin what they were supposed to do with the cup noodles, so Rin explained that they would wait 3 minutes and then pour out the hot water inside. Okarun then called out to Manjiro, catching his attention, and asked if he knew Queen Sensei. Manjiro was surprised and asked back if he hadn't told Okarun that. Manjiro explained that Queen Sensei had once brought a student for an exorcism, which shocked Okarun since he didn't know she'd done that. He also added out of nowhere that, incidentally, he was younger than Queen Sensei, which completely stunned both Okarun and Sakata, who asked in unison if that was true. When he followed it up with a fun fact that one of them was a total masochist, the two were even more dumbfounded and immediately asked which one of them it was. After that, on the topic of age, he revealed that he was 36 years old, which made the two shout that he was getting way too personal. While the boys were having their loud conversation, Rin and Koki quietly and happily ate their cup noodles, agreeing that they were really delicious. Afterward, Manjiro brushed off the topic and moved on to the more serious issue, that Okarun and his friends were currently in dire straits. He was sure Okarun was aware that he and his friends were already being targeted. He informed them that someone out there was forcing a sort of competition where participants had to use Kazuka knives to collect yokai abilities. While handing tea to Rin, he added that the Guild of Exorcists they belonged to was already investigating the incident and advised them to be extremely careful until the culprits were caught. Okarun reasoned that even Miss Seiko had been targeted, which meant they weren't just after yokai powers. Manjiro replied that the culprit was instructing agents to collect yokai abilities, but was also allowing them to use them. Maybe they had another goal, but it was still uncertain. Sakata replied that he understood and said he would take care of it. Okarun then asked Manjiro what the wrapped object he gave him was. Manjiro opened it and explained that it was something Seiko wanted him to have, saying it was a weapon for self-defense. Sakata excitedly asked what it was and protested that it wasn't fair for only Okarun to receive something like that. Manjiro then said that it's because Okarun needs a power right now. When they opened the long box, they only found a small stick inside, which left both Okarun and Sakata speechless. Sakata laughed and teasingly pointed out that it was just a piece of charcoal, while Okarun got slightly angry and asked if it was just one of Seiko's practical jokes. Manjiro seriously responded that it wasn't and said it was a proper weapon. He told them it was an ogre club, which shocked Sakata upon learning what it was, and made Okarun nervously ask if that meant it was really powerful. Manjiro replied that he didn't know, prompting an annoyed Okarun to ask how he was supposed to use it. Manjiro said he couldn't say, which made Okarun yell in frustration that it really is a prank. After that, Manjiro said that his master had told him to train Okarun, which shocked him and made him ask if he was serious. While Rin continued teaching Koki how to eat the things they had bought, Manjiro also asked Okarun to keep the item as a talisman. Sakata then called Manjiro Paisen and asked if he could ask a question. Manjiro said sure and asked what it was. Sakata asked what Queen Sensei's type was, to which Manjiro replied that he was her type, prompting Sakata to yell that he was lying. Manjiro pointed out that he said that because she was extremely kind to him, so Sakata countered that she was kind to all of them. While this was happening, the story shifted to Momo and the rest of their group, who were now riding in 2 taxis. At the window of one of the taxis, Momo was looking out, staring intently at the night sky. She started remembering Okarun and how he used to look at her with a blushing face, which made her blush too, and think that once she returned back to normal, he might finally confess his feelings to her. She commented to herself that the idea was making her feel a little nervous, but her thoughts were suddenly interrupted when Evil Eye loudly called her, completely ruining her mood. While stuffing his face with food, he shouted at her to give him more of the Dojisukue manju he was eating. In anger, she shouted back that there wasn't any left because he had already eaten all of it. Because of that, Evil Eye called her a stingy cheapskate, but she quickly silenced him and ordered him to hurry up and turn back into Gigi, while Vamola and Zuma sat quietly in the back seat. After a while, Zuma asked why Gigi was acting like that and pointed out that he wasn't like this before they got on the airplane. Vamola explained that it was because Evil Eye was inside Gigi, which confused Zuma and made him ask if that was like a split personality thing. Not long after, their group arrived at the entrance of the Izumo Grand Shrine, and Momo happily shouted that they had finally arrived and that she would finally be able to return to normal, while Seiko commented that it looked like they had somehow made it on time. A resident priest came out to greet them and asked if she was Miss Ayase, which caught Seiko's attention. She said that she was, and that it was an honor to meet him. She also thanked him for accommodating their urgent appeal at this time. However, unexpectedly, the resident priest brought bad news and reluctantly explained that he was sorry to say this, but they were currently in a state of emergency because their precious magic hammer, the Uchiden no Kazuchi, had been stolen, making Momo's eyes widen in shock. After hearing that, Seiko, Momo, Vamola, Evil Eye, and the resident priest immediately boarded a taxi, where Seiko told the driver to hurry. Momo asked if it was really a good idea to leave Zuma and the others behind at the entrance, but Seiko said they'd be back soon anyway, and besides, that was the only taxi they could find. The resident priest explained that a phantom ninja thief had suddenly started appearing in the area and was stealing national treasures from temples and shrines. Seiko angrily commented that people who steal are as rotten as they come. Momo asked if they could still make it in time, and Seiko replied that it was still the hour of the ox, so they still had time. Momo suddenly shouted to wait a moment and asked the resident priest if he knew where the phantom ninja thief was. He replied that due to the increasing number of thefts, they had placed a tracker on the hammer. Momo was baffled by that and commented that that was a smart move and asked where it was now. After she asked that, the scene suddenly shifted to a terrifying Japanese-style castle surrounded by a frightening aura. After a short while, they arrived at the entrance of the castle and quickly got out of the taxi and started running, while Momo wondered if this was really the place. Then she asked what about Evil Eye, to which Seiko replied that they'd just leave him in the taxi for now because once they retrieve the Uchida no Kazuchi magic hammer, they would need to return to the shrine as soon as possible. They swiftly climbed the steps and entered the castle, and as they did, Seiko added that if they failed to return to the shrine and perform the ritual before the hour of the ox ended, they won't be able to lift the curse, making Momo curse and worry and shout for them to hurry. Upon reaching the next floor, the resident priest led them to the hammer's location while using his phone. He couldn't believe the item was hidden in a place like this. Vamola asked what exactly the Uchida no Kazuchi was, and Momo told him that he'd probably get a basic picture of it if he just thought about it, while the resident priest pointed out that it looked exactly like the magic hammer they were all visualizing. Momo commented that it felt weird. Why would something like that be hidden inside a major tourist attraction? As they carefully explore the inside of the castle, Seiko suddenly noticed something on their side, so she immediately stopped them and told them to wait. She pointed out that there was someone over there, which gave them all an eerie feeling. Moments later, when they turned to look at the resident priest, a ninja was already covering his mouth and had a dagger pressed to his neck. Momo and Seiko were both shocked upon seeing it. The ninja ordered them not to move, saying that if they did, the man would die, forcing Seiko and the others to stay still. Right after, numerous ninjas started emerging from the shadows of the once seemingly empty, dark castle and surrounded the four of them. Seiko angrily shouted, asking what the hell was going on, while Momo pointed out that this was the phantom ninja thief, but it seemed he wasn't alone. Vamola also angrily called out to the ninja and demanded that he stop what he was doing. Then the ninja holding the priest suddenly commanded them to accept their defeat, saying that if they did so, they might be spared. Those words immediately catching the attention of both Seiko and Momo, as they sounded all too familiar. The ninja began to push the sharp dagger further against the priest's neck, instructing them to hurry up. Momo shouted to Seiko that she'd hold the ninja's blade using her powers and told her grandmother to take them down. But Seiko instead ordered her to take Vamola and go back to the taxi, shocking Momo. Seiko explained that if she left now, she could still make it in time, and instructed her to return to the shrine and perform the ritual. Momo shouted for her to wait and reasoned that if they didn't help the priest, things would get really bad. But Seiko suddenly changed her tone and asked what priest she was even talking about, confusing Momo even more. She added that all she could see was an enemy while looking intensely on the two, then told the ninja and the priest that they could drop the act, further puzzling Momo about what she meant. As Seiko stared seriously at the so-called priest held hostage, the fear and panic slowly faded from the man's face, and eventually, he too looked back at Seiko with calmness despite his situation. Then suddenly, the ninja behind the priest turned into smoke, and the priest's clothing gradually vanished as well, revealing that the whole thing had just been a performance. With the priest's outfit suddenly disappearing, Momo screamed in alarm that a whole-ass pervert just popped out of nowhere, while Seiko questioned what was wrong with her and how she let herself get completely fooled. She pointed to Momo that the man was no priest or anything close to it, and that the magic hammer had never been stolen at all. The mysterious man changed his outfit to something more modern, and Seiko added that they were lured into enemy territory with the aim of stealing their powers. After that, a creature that looked like a chameleon appeared beside the newly revealed man and asked what they should do now that their deception had been exposed, also suggesting that it might be easier to just kill them and hand them over to the Serpoians. But the man responded that it was too difficult, which was why he staged such a scene. The man then asked the chameleon what he planned to do about the situation, and the chameleon yelled defensively, as if this was his fault. Momo commented on how icky the chameleon creature looked, while Seiko immediately prepared herself and ordered Vamola to look for an opening and run back to the taxi. Momo shouted for them to wait and pointed out that not even Seiko could take on that many enemies by herself, insisting that she would fight too. But Seiko opposed her, saying she won't. She pointed out that they can't wait any longer, and this was the only way left to lift the curse. Seiko began kicking away the ninjas blocking their path and immediately shouted at Vamola to run towards the exit, which Vamola did. However, the chameleon creature didn't let them do as they pleased. It placed its hand on the ground, and its body started blending into it. Seiko was shocked by what she saw next. Suddenly, a barrier appeared in Vamola's path, and various parts of the castle's interior began shifting and moving. More ninjas started emerging from different areas of the room they were in, and one of them immediately tried to slash at Vamola, but thankfully, she was able to dodge it in time. But unexpectedly, the floor beneath Vamola suddenly opened up, causing her to fall down to the lower level. Seiko and Momo both screamed in alarm at the sight, but Momo was able to react quickly and jumped in after her, reaching out with her powers. Because of that, Momo fell into the hole along with Vamola, and right after that, it slammed shut, causing even more concern for Seiko. Suddenly, the area around Seiko fell into silence, and the swarm of ninjas disappeared, startling her. She then noticed something to her left that caught her attention, and when she turned, she saw the mysterious man bowing to her without any explanation.